Good morning, you guys. It's Elissa from the Auberger Homestead. Unfortunately, this year, due to the weather, tomatoes have been hard to come by and few and far between. But I finally have a good amount all ripe at once that I can do a batch of canned diced tomatoes. Let's do it! I know I do be looking like a hot mess express, but this is what you get today because this is reality. So the first step that we got to do is we got to core these guys, and I'm also going to cut an X into the bottom so that way it makes it easier for them to peel. Alrighty, now that I've got all of my tomatoes cored and with a little X on them, I'm going to move them to the heat safe pot, which is this guy here. And then my hot boiling water, we're going to pour over it, and we're going to let these guys sit for just a couple of minutes until the skin starts to peel and blister away from them. This is what we're looking for, guys, for it to look like it's just starting to blister away from it. Alright, once all these guys have blistered enough where you can peel them and they're cool enough to the touch to do so, we're just going to take all these peels right off. Now I did a different breed of tomato this year than I normally do. I did bush steak rather than beef steak or Jubilee, and I have loved how these guys have turned out. Even with the difficult tomato year that we've had with how wet it's been, they've just grown so nice and they're so meaty. They will make perfect diced tomatoes. Alrighty, once they're all nicely peeled, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dice these guys. Now you can dice them however size you like to do. Oh, I mean, just look at that. They're beautiful and meaty. They won't be too seedy. I don't worry about removing the seeds when I'm making diced tomatoes. A little bit of texture for when I'm going to open up a jar of these, I won't mind. And I'm just going to dice them into pieces about yay big. I'm going to set aside. Like this. Alrighty, now in my hot, clean, sterilized jars, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of canning salt to each jar. Now, typically you want to use either a powdered citric acid you could add to it or a squirt of lemon juice. I apparently am out of lemon juice and I didn't know, so I'm just going to do a squirt of lime juice. It'll work just fine. And this part, guys, I'll be honest, I never really measure. I just kind of add a little bit to each one. Alright, now to fill them up. Alrighty, and now once I have all my jars filled up with my diced tomatoes, I'm going to add boiling water to them, and I just do it slowly so that way it has time to sink down into the jars. I like to pack my diced tomatoes in as much as I can, so that way there's as little extra water in there as possible. Then I'll take my plastic little spatula and I'll poke it down in there to make sure I get all of the air bubbles out. Me, I like to leave about 1/3 of an inch of headspace in mine. Again, I eyeball it.
If I need to top it off with a little bit more water after I get done doing this, I will.
Okay, so I just brought my lids up to a gentle boil and I'm going to turn it off. All we want to do is make sure that rubber seal is warm. And now I've just got a little bowl here with white vinegar, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to wipe these really good so that way when we go to put the seals on and they go to can, they'll have no problem sealing right tight shut. Alrighty, now that they've all been wiped nice and clean, it's time to get the lid on these guys and to put the rims on. Alrighty, once all your jars are in here, you want to make sure there's at least 1 inch of water over top of all of them. And since this is a high acid item, we're going to go ahead and water bath can these. Alrighty, I've got my lid back on my canner. I just put the stove back on. We're going to get this guy up to a gentle rolling boil. Once that goes, we're going to process these guys for 35 minutes since they're pints. If these were quarts, it'd be 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these bad boys out of the canner. Just be careful while you're doing it. And if there's any standing water on top of these guys, I will just take a paper towel and ever so lightly kind of dab the water droplets. You don't want to press on the top of these. It can cause what is known as a false seal. It'll force it to pop down and it looks like it's sealed correctly. But if it does not seal naturally, and the air doesn't all leak out like it's supposed to, it could cause it to spoil, and nobody likes botulism. And there we have it, canned diced tomatoes. Thank you guys for watching. As I have more projects, I am more than happy to share how I do my process. Now keep in mind, everybody cans a little bit differently. I'm just sharing how I can and what works well for me. I just took these out of the canner, and out of my 8 pints, 4 of them have already sealed, and it's not even been 5 minutes yet. These guys will stay on here on the counter for at least 12 hours till they're completely cool, and then I'll remove the rings, and whatever has sealed correctly will go into the pantry. And if any of these don't, for whatever reason, sometimes you get a fluke jar that doesn't like to seal, a bad lid, or maybe I didn't clean the rim properly. But if that were to happen, I'll just put that in the fridge and we'll use it within the next 2 days. But thank you guys for watching.